Hi everyone, I am Dr. Anjani Devi, Associate Professor, Department of Biotechnology, Vignyan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. I am dealing with the course Enzyme Technology, and we are presently discussing about the topics present in Unit 5. And in the last classes, we have discussed about design of immobilized enzyme reactors. In that, we have discussed about packed bed reactor, fluidized bed reactor. Then we have also discussed about membrane reactors, then followed by conversion calculations of the free enzyme and immobilized enzyme reactors. And now presently we are going to discuss about stability, deactivation and catalytic activities of immobilized enzymes, and we are going to have a comparative study of these properties between free enzyme and immobilized enzymes. If we just memorize what we have discussed in the previous classes, we have discussed the importance of immobilization process. Why we need to go for immobilizing the enzymes? Because the immobilization process is economical. The continuous use of this biocatalyst is possible if you go for immobilizing the enzymes. If you just consider the free enzyme and the immobilized enzyme, in case of free enzyme, you can't use the free enzymes for number of times because of the loss of stability and loss of activity of free enzymes after certain number of cycles. So you can use the free enzymes only up to certain number of cycles. But if you go for immobilized enzymes, the stability of the enzyme will be increased and your activity of the enzymes will be there for longer period. The enzyme will be active for the longer period, and thus you can use the same enzymes for few more generations when compared to the free enzymes. So that will be giving the process the economical feasibility. Your process will be more economical. As you pretty well know that there is a demarcation between the free enzyme activity as well as the immobilized enzyme activity. When you are going for the immobilization of your enzymes, your stability of the enzyme is increased and the enzyme is active for longer duration of period when compared to the free enzymes. In that case, you can use the immobilized enzymes for number of cycles. You can use the same enzymes for repeated number of cycles when compared to the free enzymes. Free enzymes may be active for certain period of time. If at all you are using the free enzymes for 3 generations or 3 batches, you can use your immobilized enzymes for few more batches compared to the free enzymes. That's why you are considering this immobilized enzyme as economical. I'm not saying about the cost of immobilization process. If at all you are considering the cost of free enzyme and immobilized enzyme, the immobilized enzyme will be more costly. But as you can use the immobilized enzyme for few more batches when compared to the free enzyme, I'm saying that it is economical. It is economical as you can use for few more batches, not in the respect of preparation of immobilized enzyme. Immobilization will be incurring certain amount of cost when compared to the free enzyme. So, why we are using the immobilized enzyme? By taking into consideration the economical point. Moreover, the second important aspect of immobilization is there is a convenience to separate the enzyme. For example, just consider a batch in which you have used a free enzyme. Just consider another batch where you have used immobilized enzyme. After completion of your reaction, it will be very easy for you to separate the immobilized enzyme when compared to the free enzyme. So separation of free enzyme is difficult when compared to the separation of immobilized enzyme. That's why I'm saying that it's very convenient for us to separate the immobilized enzyme from the reactor after completion of the reaction rather than separation of free enzyme from the reactor after completion of reaction. That's the second important point of your immobilization process. Coming to the third important point is nothing but your stability. As I've told you that The immobilization process will be definitely enhancing the stability of your enzyme so that you can use it for number of batches. So because of these important aspects, you are going for immobilization process. Now, we have to consider what are the important aspects for the immobilization process. What are the important aspects you need to take care about before you are going for the immobilization procedure. The first thing is you need to know the properties of the free enzyme. So, in order to immobilize an enzyme, you have to select a desirable enzyme and you have to study the properties of that particular desired enzyme. So, you have to study the properties of your free enzyme, and then you need to have a proper knowledge about what is the support you are going to use, what is the carrier you are going to use, what are the properties of the carrier, whether your carrier is inert or not. So, you have to study the properties of your support or carrier. Along with that, you need to have proper information about what is the method you are going to use for activating your carrier or your support. So, as we pretty well know that, what are the important things, what are the important steps in the immobilization process? You require a free enzyme, you require a support, you need to attach your enzyme to your support. So, sometimes there is a need like you have to activate your support. You have to attach certain functional groups to your support so that it will be binding to your enzyme in order to immobilize it. So, after selection of the free enzyme, after selecting the support, you need to select a procedure which you are going to use for activating your support. So, these three are major aspects of immobilization procedure. Then, I've told you that the properties of free enzyme, we have to know the properties of free enzymes before you start the process of immobilization. What you need to know? You need to know that what is the nature of the enzyme, what is the classification of enzyme, then you need to know the unique systematic name of enzyme, action of enzyme. So, coming to the properties of free enzyme, before you start the immobilization process, you need to know about what is the systematic name of the enzyme which you are going to use. Besides, you need to know about the action of the enzymes. Along with that, you need to have proper knowledge about what is the source of enzyme for which you are going to use. So, you need to have a proper information about the source of enzymes, whether it is plant source, animal source or the microbial source from where you are obtaining your enzyme. And you need to have a proper information about the form of enzyme, whether you are using the enzyme in the liquid form, whether you are using your enzyme in the lyophilized state. So, you need to have proper information about the source of enzyme as well as the physical form of enzyme, whether it is the lyophilized form of enzyme you are using or not. So, you need to have a proper information about your physical form. Along with that, you need to have proper information about the purity of the enzyme. Along with the purity, you need to have information about what are the purification steps that are used for purifying the enzymes. So, when you are considering a free enzyme, you need to have information about the systematic name of the enzyme. You need to know about the action of enzyme. You need to know about the physical form of enzyme. You need to have information about the purity of enzymes besides the purification steps followed for purifying the enzymes. These are the aspects you need to know about the free enzymes. Then coming to the properties of support or carrier. So coming to the properties of the supporting material, you need to select a proper appropriate support for immobilizing your enzyme. So enzyme support has critical effect on the stability of the enzyme because enzyme will be stable if you properly immobilize it onto a appropriate support by using a appropriate technique. So enzyme support has crucial effect on stabilizing the enzyme and the efficiency of the enzyme immobilization. So what are the various properties you need to know about the support? you need to know whether your support is soluble in water or not. And you need to have information about the capacity to bind, the capacity of your support to bind with your enzyme. You need to know whether your support is chemically inert or not. Besides, you have to know about the mechanical stability of your support. Besides this, you need to have proper information about the surface area of your support. Along with that, you have to have information about your internal pore size, external bead size or tube diameter. Along with this, the ease with which the support can be activated and the resultant densities of the enzyme binding sites. So, you need to have information about the properties of your support. Along with that, you need to have information about the surface area of your support and the pore size, internal pore size, external bead size, tube diameter, etc. The inertness refers to the degree of non-specific adsorption and the pH, pressure and temperature stability. I've told you that your support should be stable. What do you mean by stable? What do you mean by inertness? The inertness means that the support should have specific adsorption. It should not undergo non-specific adsorption. Besides, your support should be stable at different pH, temperature and other environmental conditions. So, it should be stable towards other environmental conditions which you are going to maintain in the reactor. So, it should be stable for various pH, temperature and the pressures that we are maintaining in the reactor. So, there are three different types of supports. The first one is your hydrophilic biopolymers, which are based upon the natural polysaccharides, examples of which are agarose, dextrans as well as your cellulose. Now, coming to the types of your support, there are predominantly three different types of your supports, and the first one is your hydrophilic biopolymers, which are natural biopolymers. They are natural polysaccharides. Examples are agarose, dextrans and cellulose. And the second type of your supports are lipophilic synthetic organic polymers. Examples of that particular kind are polyacrylamide, polystyrene as well as nylon. And the third type of support is nothing but inorganic materials. And examples are that materials which are generally made up of glass, iron oxides, etc. So, besides the nature of your enzyme and the nature of your support, the third important aspect is what is the method you are going to use to immobilize your enzyme onto your support. And with the previous knowledge, with the discussion what we have in our previous sessions, we know that covalent binding is the most suitable method to immobilize your enzymes. So, covalent binding is a suitable method to activate your support, and then an activated support is defined as a material having an enzyme, reactive functional groups covalently attached to an otherwise inert surface. So, what do you mean by activation? Activation process is nothing but you need to prepare your support in such a way that your enzyme is properly bind to your support. Sometimes there is need that you have to you have to insert certain functional groups which have the capacity to bind with the enzyme molecule, and we have to remember that the functional groups which we are inserting onto your support should bind to the other region of your enzyme rather than your active site. Your covalent binding should be there between the support as well as the enzyme, but your enzyme should be bound to the support in such a way that is bound to any other region of your enzyme surface, not at the active site. If at all your enzyme is bound to the support at the active site, then there won't be probability for the substrate molecule to go and bind to the active site, and there is no point in using that sort of immobilized enzyme because it won't be carrying out enzyme substrate reactions. So you have to immobilize your enzyme in such a way that immobilization will not hamper, will not hinder the binding of your substrate molecule to active site of the enzyme. So binding should be there at any other part of the enzyme except at the active site of your enzyme. So the stability of the resulting bond between the enzyme and the support, the local environment of the enzyme and the potential loss of activity on immobilization must all be considered for the stability of the enzyme. Whenever you are going for the immobilization process, you have to bear in mind that you have to consider these parameters. What are those parameters? You have to have proper knowledge that your bond between the enzyme and support is not hampering the binding of your support, as well as you have to care for the environment in which your enzyme is available, your immobilized enzyme is available. Besides this, the percentage of enzyme immobilization is usually calculated by measuring the amount of enzyme remaining in the supernatant after immobilization and subtracting this from the amount of originally present. If you want to have information about whether you have carried out an immobilization process, you have immobilized your enzyme onto your support, how can you get it confirmed? You have to get it confirmed by measuring the activity of enzyme immobilized to your surface. But measuring the activity of your enzyme that is bound to your support is a tedious task. That means how you can go for measuring the activity of your enzyme? How can you get confirmed that whether your enzyme is properly immobilized or not? For this, what you have to do is, first just consider the enzyme. You know the initial activity of your enzyme. Then you add your enzyme to the support. Now your enzyme is adsorbed or it have been immobilized onto your surface of your support. In a proper way, in a direct way means you have to measure the activity of enzyme that was immobilized to the support, but it can be done easily. For that, what we are doing is, after immobilization process is completed, you are separating the support, the immobilized enzymes. You are separating the immobilized enzyme from the other fractions. So you are getting a supernatant with some amount of enzymes which is not immobilized. By measuring the activity of the enzyme that is present in the supernatant, you can indirectly calculate the activity of the enzyme which is bound to the support. How you are going to calculate? You know the initial concentration of your enzyme, you know the activity of your enzyme. Once the immobilization process is completed, you are separating the solid fraction from the liquid fraction. The immobilized enzyme will be present, because of its weight it will be present in another phase, and your unbound enzyme will be present in your supernatant. If you calculate the concentration of your enzyme in your supernatant, the activity of your enzyme in the supernatant, you can subtract the concentration of enzyme that is present in the supernatant from the total concentration of your enzyme. From that, you will be getting the information about the amount of enzyme or the concentration of your enzyme that is immobilized onto the support. This is an indirect method. So the absolute enzyme activity remaining on the support after immobilization is more difficult to determine, and an apparent activity is usually measured. Moreover, whenever you are studying about stability of the enzyme, you have to study the stability of the enzyme with respect to various environmental conditions such as temperature, pH of the particular environment in which your immobilized enzyme is present. Moreover, you have to measure the stability with respect to the time, and you have to measure your enzyme stability when it is under storage, and also you have to consider the experimental variables while measuring the stability of your immobilized enzyme. The recommended procedure is to store the enzyme under normal operation conditions. In order to measure the stability of the enzymes, normally the conditions that are recommended is, they will recommend you to place your enzyme at 20 degrees centigrade and measure the activity of the enzymes at specific intervals of time. So, the prescribed method is place your enzyme at 20 degrees centigrade and measure the activity at regular intervals of time, and monitor the activity of the enzyme at fixed intervals of time using the same procedure as that used for determining the activity remained after the immobilization process. In order to measure the stability of the enzyme, you are considering the storage conditions such as pH, temperature, ionic strength, and also the impurities incorporated during the immobilization process. Along with that, you are also considering the oxidation reduction potential and Michaelis constant Km value for appropriate substrate. So, let us discuss the effect of immobilization on operational stability. So, what do you mean by this effect of immobilization on operational stability? The activity of the enzyme is dictated by the structure and conformation. Obviously, if your enzyme, which is nothing but your protein, is present in its proper structure, if it is maintaining its proper conformation, then only your enzyme will be having the activity. If at all the enzyme is losing its structure, if it is getting denatured, then you can find the activity of that particular enzyme. So, the activity of the enzyme is because of its structure and its conformation. Along with that, the environmental changes also have effect on the enzyme activity. So, the activity of the enzyme is dictated by structure and conformation. The environmental change resulting from the immobilization affects not only the maximum activity, but these factors also have influence on the stability of the enzyme. The factors that inactivate the enzyme are not systematically understood and depends upon the intrinsic nature of the enzyme. It also depends upon the method of immobilization. It also depends upon the method of immobilization and the reaction conditions. So, the deciding factors in order to immobilize your enzyme are nothing but your intrinsic nature of your enzyme, along with the method of immobilization which you are following to immobilize your enzyme, besides the reaction conditions which you are maintaining in the reactor. In general, the immobilized enzyme preparation demonstrate better. That means, if you consider a free enzyme as well as an immobilized enzyme, as your immobilized enzyme is getting protected from the environment factors such as drastic pH, drastic temperature, drastic pressure that are present in your reactor, your enzyme is relatively stable than the free enzyme, as the free enzyme is directly subjected to these environmental conditions, but your enzyme, immobilized enzyme, is protected from these drastic conditions. Because of this protection of your enzymes due to immobilization, your immobilized enzyme will be relatively stable and it will be having activity. It will be retaining activity for a longer period of time. If you compare the free enzyme and the immobilized enzyme, let us consider that you have given the same conditions. You have placed the free enzyme and immobilized enzymes under drastic pH, temperature and pressure conditions. Your free enzyme is going to lose the activity more fastly when compared to your immobilized enzyme. Why? Because your immobilized enzyme is having the protective shield on it because of immobilization process, that is protected because of the support material. So your free enzyme is susceptible, more susceptible to the drastic conditions. So it is having less stability and it will be losing the activity more fastly if at all it is subjected to the drastic environmental conditions. But in the same situation, your immobilized enzyme will be relatively more stable and retaining the activity for longer duration at drastic environmental conditions. Let us see this figure. If you observe this figure, we have considered the free enzyme and immobilized enzyme, and we are studying the enzyme activity at various time intervals. For example, this number 1 represents your immobilized enzyme and 2 represents your free enzyme. According to time, under the influence of environmental conditions such as pH, temperature and pressure that are maintained in the reactor, the free enzyme will be gradually losing its enzyme activity, and after a certain period of time, the activity will be lost to its significant amount. Under the same conditions, if you consider the immobilized enzyme will maintain the activity without any change for certain duration of period, and after that certain duration of period there will be decrease in the enzyme activity. Here it is clearly demarcated that your free enzyme is going to lose enzyme activity. Your free enzyme is going to lose its activity relatively faster than the immobilized enzyme. And from the figure, you can note that the immobilized preparations is often more stable than the soluble enzyme. Soluble enzyme is nothing but your free enzyme and displays a period during which no enzyme activity appears to be lost. Here we have seen the same. There is no loss in the enzyme activity for certain duration of time for the immobilized enzyme, but in the case of free enzyme, there is loss of your activity. Although the enzyme storage stability is important, it is very important for us to study the stability of the enzyme during the operation. That is nothing but operation stability. That is nothing but the stability of the enzyme when it is present in the reactor, when it is working in the reactor. Besides studying the stability of the enzymes during the storage, you need to study the operational stability of the enzyme also. Although enzyme storage stability is important, it is the operational stability of the enzyme that governs its reactor performance. Obviously, in order to study how your enzyme is performing during the reaction in a reactor, you need to study the operational stability rather than studying the storage stability of your enzyme. Operational stability is a complex function of temperature, pH, concentration of your substrate in the presence of destabilizing agents. Generally, the rate of free enzyme deactivation is a first order reaction. So, the rate of free enzyme deactivation is a first order reaction. We can see this particular equation here. dE by dt, that means the loss dE by dt according to time is equal to minus Kd into concentration of your enzyme at that particular time period. Integrating this expression is the concentration of your active enzyme as a function of time, which is nothing but your concentration of your active enzyme, which is equal to concentration of your enzyme at 0 time period into exponential minus Kd into T. where Kd is your deactivation constant, and this rate of free enzyme deactivation follows the first order reaction. Temperature. Besides, you need to study the stability of the enzymes under the influence of temperature. The rate of enzyme catalyzed reaction V is equal to dP by dt, that is nothing but the rate of product formation according to the time, which is equal to the constant K2 into the concentration of enzyme substrate complex. This is nothing but the second step of your reaction, where your product is formed from your enzyme substrate complex, where your K2 is equal to A into exponential minus EA by RT. With increase in temperature, there will be definitely denaturation of your enzyme, and the denaturation rate is equal to minus dE by dt, which is equal to Kd into E, deactivation constant, into the concentration of enzyme. Kd is equal to AD into exponential minus EA by RT, where EA is the activation energy, R is your gas constant, and T is your temperature, where Kd is your enzyme denaturation rate constant and EA is your deactivation energy. So Kd is equal to AD into exponential minus EA by RT, where Kd is your enzyme denaturation rate constant and EA is your deactivation energy. In order to summarize what you have learned in today's session, we have learned about the stability of immobilized enzymes, and the key factors for the stability of your enzymes are supporting material characteristics or the properties of your support material. Along with that, the another important factor is your immobilized enzymes. For the supporting material, what are the various properties you have to consider? You have to study the stability of your support against the chemicals. You have to have a proper information about the stability of your support against the physical conditions, whether your support is prevented from fouling or not, and you have to study whether support is protected from corrosion due to bacteria. So these are the various factors you need to study about the supporting material. And what are the various factors you have to know about your immobilized enzyme? You need to know whether your enzyme is heat stable or not. You have to know the stability of your enzyme against the physical and chemical conditions. You have to have information that your enzyme is whether it is stable against hydrophilic solvents or not. You have to study about the stability of this immobilization process. You have to have the information about the stability of immobilization or entrapment. So totally, with these two key factors, one is your supporting material and another one is the property of the immobilized enzyme, you can successfully study the stability of your immobilized enzyme. I want you people to work out these questions so that you can assess how far you have understood today's session. I followed these references in order to compile this information. I want you people also to follow these references. Thank you.